Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Matt, and today I wanted to talk about language learning levels and maybe why you shouldn't be too obsessed or focused in on them. So, I think that there's a lot of focus out there on whether or not someone is a B1 level, B2, C1, C2, whether or not you're conversationally fluent, or whatever it is. And the reality is that for a lot of people, these levels really don't matter and they probably shouldn't matter to you. So, in a lot of cases, for a lot of people that want to reach a high skill level in a language, it's really not about getting to B2 or C1 or whatever it is. It's about enjoying the language in a relatively competent fashion, right? People want to be able to read in the language that they're learning, right? Read books, read the news. They want to listen to interesting audio content, listen to Netflix series, podcasts. They want to have compelling conversations with others, right? And some people, want a lower degree. They just want to basically somewhat function a little bit on their next vacation. But I think that for the people that want to kind of go to a very high skill level, they really want to just know the language. It's probably okay that they make some mistakes. It's probably okay that they don't know every single word, but they want to have fun. They want to kind of know the language, right? In some cases, people do need those certifications, right? Maybe they need this level for a job. They need to pass like a TOEFL exam to, get into a university in, an American school, or whatever it is. They need to have that ranking and certification, right? But inevitably, all paths lead down the same road, which is you got to learn the language. And if you're kind of, having to pass the test or whatever, maybe there's kind of more pressure to just be more consistent with language learning, to make sure you know the material, to do that necessary study prep. But I think that sometimes, all this focus in on the B1, the B2, the C1 levels, really, I think in a lot of ways, it's really not about that, but it's more about like, okay, how do I get to the place where I'm actually enjoying things? I think that's probably why people ask themselves that question, like, how do I get to B2? How do I get to C1, right? Well, why ask yourself that question? Well, probably because you want to enjoy the compelling content, or you want to feel like you're done with the language. And I think this is why I think it's so important to try to get immersed into compelling content as soon as you can, to try to put that at the forefront of a lot of your language learning. Because when you're enjoying yourself in the language learning process, the levels don't really matter, right? When you're reading in a foreign language, you're having fun, you're picking up vocabulary, you're learning grammar and context, and that's fun and very rewarding and effective. Same goes for practicing listening with podcasts. Maybe you're using video games, or practicing speaking with having conversation partners. When you're doing those core aspects of the language, right, you are really immersed into the language, right? You're in that language. You are reading compelling content. You are listening to, natives speak about something on a podcast or whatever it is. And the thing about it is, it might not be perfect, right? You might not understand everything in the newspaper article that you're reading. You might only understand so much of the podcast you're listening to, and you might make mistakes when you're speaking or have a limited range of how you can express certain things. But you are in that process, and I think that's what matters. And it's not to say that once you get there, you quit, but I think that it makes the process of getting to high skill levels, to getting to a B2 or a C1 level, so much easier, because then you're not obsessed about getting to B2 and C1 as much, because you're enjoying the process. And when you're enjoying things, the language learning is a lot less work, and it's just something that you do, right? You're having fun and you're learning, and then eventually you'll get there to the B2, the C1 level. And obviously, when you're enjoying that compelling content, and you're using reading, you're using listening, or whatever, the better you get at the language, the more that you're going to be able to enjoy things. So, obviously, the more words that you learn, the more audio content you're probably going to understand, right? Where you only understand maybe half of what's going on, and then with some more time, 60%, 70%, or whatever it is. Same with reading. Maybe you can read at a little bit faster of a pace, or you can speak about more advanced subject matters, or you can express yourself a lot more elegantly. I think that those are the things, when you're putting that time in with compelling material, that's going to ultimately get you to those B2, C1 levels. So I'd say, if anything, make your focus on how do I get to compelling content? how do I start using reading in my language learning? How do I start having more fun trying to watch Netflix series? I think that is a better goal to have than being obsessed with the B2 and C1 levels. Now, it's good to aim for those targets. It's good to have those as those long-term goals. But I think inevitably when people are asking themselves that question, in a lot of cases, it's really of when do I get to the point where I'm having fun? Where do I get to the point where I'm enjoying audio content or speaking or whatever it is? And I think that when you kind of try to shift that focus into interesting and compelling content, whether it's reading, listening, or whatever, it's going to be a lot better for you in the end of the day. You can take a lot more of a specific approach for getting to that compelling reading content, right? You can try to figure out, okay, what am I missing here? Do I need to learn more words? Is my grammar lacking? Do I need to put more time into listening? I think that in a lot of ways, that's really what matters for a lot of people. But inevitably, in the end of the day, you just got to put the time in to get better, right? You got to put the time in to learn new words, to get better at listening, to get better at speaking. But when you use compelling content from a reading perspective, from audio and things like that, it's going to make things a lot more fun and probably a lot more effective. And then when you're having fun, you're not too worried about the time, and eventually you'll get to that B2 or C1 level or whatever it is that is your long-term goal. So that's why I had to say on the subject. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Take care.